7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Mix's Review. It's the Shyndo show, so we decided in honor of the Shyndo, we'll do this in absolute darkness, right? What do you guys think? I've heard some conspiracies, right? About Shyndo. I think the more popular one is that he's a vampire and that he's streaming live from his lair. Have you guys heard anything?
I think when Bethesda coded Skyrim, they modeled the entire Dark Brotherhood storyline on Shyndo's podcasts.
There's another thing as well, that Shyndo is a creature of the night, almost like a mushroom that grows at night, There's that, or it could be that, Shyndo is an extreme minimalist and that things like light is totally extra.
I would go with the vampire, and then I discussed this with my wife. We think it's maybe a hybrid between the vampire and steeping. He's doing it for the steep man.
He's actually in his juice cupboard.
One thing you can be sure of with Shyndo's mixes, none of them are ever contaminated by being exposed to sunlight.
That's the thing, yes. That's the thing. So, yeah. Okay, guys. So, I mixed up D-cream, but I'm actually going to mix things up. And we are going to have Deetz kick off the show tonight. Deetz, you want to take over?
Okay, can you just help me out with the percentages there? Just give me a second.
So 2% Fuji and 8% vanilla bean ice cream.
2% Fuji and 8% vanilla bean ice cream. Okay, so for me, this was a really great recipe. I enjoyed it. 2 ingredients, man. What it did was very strange for me. The flavor was both very strong and very smooth at the same time. I only tasted it, I think, 4 days steeping, 2 days stirring, and the rest of the time steeping. And I think it's a good recipe. I wouldn't personally say it's very, very apple-y, but it does something strange. I get there's something specifically Fuji apple does, and then you get the V-Big. There's something specifically going on with each of them in their own way. But in this recipe, they both together do something specific together, and it creates a very strange but good strange flavor for me. It was very strange initially. I think it almost turned a bit florally. I got a bit of florally notes. But normally with anything floral, I think it's bad. It just, I don't get a good vibe from anything florally. This is just strange enough to keep me vaping on it and keep wondering why. The fact that it's a 2 concentrate recipe, it's a winner for me. I love it. I've almost finished the 50 mils I've mixed, and I think it's a good recipe for a 2 ingredient recipe. Shyndo's vampire cave. That's where the goods happen.
The steepings.
I did see. He mentioned the mustard milk recipe, but I think specifically this Fuji did something that the strawberry wouldn't have done. So there's that strangeness going on with this, where that strawberry from the mustard milk would not have that weird vibe going. So I enjoyed the recipe. I would definitely mix it again. And for beginner DIYers, the guys always asking for the simple recipes, 2 ingredient recipes. Definitely mix this up. You won't get that strong apple that you might know Fuji for, but you get something very, very, very unique, I would say. The way it blends. I would say it's best for me steeped after 6-7 days. That's where I enjoyed it the most, where the flavors were a little bit less separated. Good recipe, 2 ingredients for the win. Good, man.
Yeah, so what's up with the floral hate, dude? Hey?
Dude,
Why you,
have you ever unicorn vomit? Have you tried that concentrate?
we're gonna get people unsubscribing if you spit that hate on florals all over the show, man.
It's my personal opinion, which is just an opinion, but that's how I feel. I think I overdid it with my sampling of the unicorn vomit. I don't even know which brand that is from. But I got that, and I was very excited, and then I mixed it very strong. I think I killed maybe half of what I dripped on the RDA, and that was the last. I got like flowers or roses or, I don't know, toilet spray, man. Yeah. I didn't enjoy it, and from there, I'm just no more anything florally.
Deetz is the reason why every DIY vendor in SA gets unicorn vomit in their very first shipment. It's like among the first 20 concentrates they offer is unicorn vomit. I'm sure FW gives that stuff away for free. They can't sell it.
And I saw a fried chicken flavor, fried chicken concentrate. I think they fall in the same class. It's not something delicious.
Guys, all this unicorn vomit hate, I don't know. I've smelt it once, and yeah, I wasn't too impressed with it. But yeah, rookie mistake 101. I think we all went through that, right?
We should do a show of unicorn vomit recipes, but we'd have to make our own because there aren't any.
Unicorn vomit and I would say 6% sweetener might fix it.
Yeah, the most underrated concentrate in the world. Okay, so me, I mixed up D cream as well. What Shyndo says here, this is just a simple remix of Fizzmaster's mustard milk. It's a nice, crisp, acidic apple cream without the curdle that would happen in real life. Nothing beats a good, simple mix. It's even wonderful as a shake and vape. Steep 3 days to get, if you have an aversion to alcohol-based flavors. So yeah, I agree with him on the shake and vape part. You can do that. Of course, it will get better over time, as Deetz mentioned. I tasted it after the shake and it was vapable. But yeah, after 3 days, they blend better. And, this becomes, quite delicious. The only thing I don't quite agree with is it's a nice, crisp, acidic apple. Maybe I'm just broken. I'm not tasting Fuji this week for some reason, but I'm not tasting the apple. I'm tasting something like an apple, but it transcends. This recipe, Fuji in, vanilla bean ice cream TFA, this mixed together, the vanilla and there, something transcends there into something new, maybe other people are able to pick out that that's an apple or that's a crisp apple, but it's something different for me, but it's delicious. I would say it's more of a, an ice cream with apple nuances, if for the people that want to know what this really is. But yeah, not very clear apple. So yeah, this is a 2-flavor recipe and it's pretty good, man. I mean, because it's 2 flavors, you're of course not going to, challenge your taste buds and, look for something new or interesting for your palate. This is just something easy, you bang together and you kind of out of the door, so it's a quick thing to put together, or could serve as a good base for something else for people looking at developing recipes. Is it just me that's not tasting Fuji apple? I'm not sure, just leave in the comments below If other people have problems tasting Fuji, I'm not sure. But yeah, that
Would
was
you?
my take on it.
I've got a question which I also asked when I was sampling it with my wife. She didn't know about the ingredients or the concentrate you used, but the first thing she says is, or she said was, there's definitely 3 ingredients or more in here.
Mm.
Would you have said, if you had to blind taste it, that was a 2 concentrate recipe?
No way. Because I would think, because it transcends so much into something new, he calls this D cream. So it transcends into a new fruit, right? And because of that, I would think that this is a mixture between 2 fruits, but in actual fact, it's a mixture between vanilla and Fuji apple that transcends into something different, right? So I would think this is definitely more than a 2-ingredient recipe. This was a surprise for me. I even put in a little bit of super sweet as well. I love my stuff a little bit sweeter, only at 0.2. And that didn't over sweeten it for my taste buds. But yeah, this was delish.
I did the same with the sweetener. Finally, actually, this afternoon, I added 0.25 into what I had left of that, but I waited and measured it. To me, that just gave it more of that ice creamy sweetness, but not too much. I like it at 0.25. It works very well for me.
But this is like super blending, right? After about 4 days or 5 days, those things are so merged together that you can't even think of what they were like when they were 2 individual things. You know what I mean? Or 2 separate things. It's just like these flavors have merged so well that you're like, oh, is this 1 concentrate or is it 5?
Yeah. It blends very well. I agree. The funny thing was, as I tasted it the first time, I could feel I wanted to hate it. I wanted to dislike something about it because of the that weird floral or that strangeness. But I kept on vaping it, and I mean, I enjoy it. So it's that weirdness going on. Something unique from Bibik and there's something unique from Fuji makes something great. Yeah.
Yeah, because of yes.
I think the key with this recipe as well is it's just a lesson in not to get stuck on mainstream percentages. I mean, people use VBIC. They bang in 3% with 0.5% of Hangson French vanilla ice cream. That's their ice cream, bang. And they never look beyond that 3 to 4% TFA VBIC bracket that they're in. Now, he's used it up at 8%, and it works.
Yeah, that's a good observation, Richard. Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't even consider that, that this is like, in some ways, laugh at this, but, it's kind of, pushing the envelope a little bit because, we all think of TFA 5%, no more. This is kind of that's the rule of the thumb. But 8%, that kind of reminds me of 2015 mixes, where we would go quite high with the creams or with the concentrates.
I agree. I actually checked out the date for the recipe posted. It was 2017. March.
Wow.
2017. I checked it out because I thought the same thing. That was just when I was mixing it. I thought it was a little bit high, and I thought maybe it's because the recipe is old, but it wasn't. So I was like, oh, okay, it's strange, but it works. So yeah, definitely.
And this is the thing also with checking who has done the mix that you see on ATF. If I see a recipe by a new mix or someone I don't know with 8% VBIC, that's an immediate red flag for me. When it's Shyndo, I know it's not.
Yeah, there's something.
It's not done, accidentally or because he wasn't sure of the right percentage. It's done for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Then, is there more questions around this, guys, or can I kick off the next one? Okay, so. I decided now, a lot of people would kind of frown at me when I say this, but, I haven't mixed up mango sticky rice. And we had VapeCon this weekend. Please go and check out. I'll leave a link below or at the end of this video, just a walkthrough of VapeCon on the Sunday, the second day, which was a little bit clearer, and you can kind of see what the vendors are looking like and what the stalls were looking like. So I'll leave it at the end of the show or below. But there was also, I think, not on Noted, but in the mix, they were speaking about creating a juice, not based on this, but the actual recipe of mango sticky rice. And Mr. Hardwick's Joel will be shilling it at his stall at VapeCon. So I went round there and I got it. I don't think you can see that nicely with the lighting. Let me just take it back a little bit, but beautiful. It's got this, I would say, Japanese kind of logo on it. Mango sticky rice, Mr. Hardwick's by Shyndo. So I've got 60 mils of this. Now, I don't go and, on ATF, click on the, recipes, click on most popular and mix up whatever is new. You know what I mean? New and popular. I don't do that. I kind of look at what I'm feeling like, and then I filter by that. And then I look at, what the popularity is of that. So, I'm not really going to feel like, hey, I feel like mango and rice together specifically today. It's really difficult for non-Asian people to even grasp that, because that I think the South African palate and the US palate is also similar here because it's savory and sweet together. So this is what interests me about this. But of course, I didn't mix this up, but I could if I wanted to because the recipe is out. This is just the mixed up version from Joel. Okay. So I can go through this recipe in more detail, but I think everybody has mixed it up. I think the biggest question is what my opinion is about this. I'll just go through the ingredients. Of course, this is a banging, recipe. A lot of people have rated it at 5 stars on ATF, but it's got FA coconut in. It's got a 1.5 FA coconut or FA cocoa. 0.75 TFA coconut candy, 1% cream fresh. You've got to put some cream fresh in there, right? And then 3.5% FLV mango, 0.2% super sweet, and 5% sweet rice. Okay, so with this here, originally when I had my first my first toot of this, I was like, what the hell is this? It was weird, man. It's in here. So, this is exactly what the recipe is saying it is. It's sweet rice. The rice is the kind of star of the show here. It's not the mango, it's the sweet rice. But as you start vaping this more and more, you actually start understanding this profile a little bit better. So it's the sweet rice, and then it's got the mango sitting with it. Now, with FLV mango, I taste pine in it as soon as I go over, or pine, like something like pine, notes in it. As soon as I go over about 3%, I mean, I love my mango vapes, but I think the cream fresh here, plus the sweet rice, plus the super sweet, has masked that nicely. So the pine notes are not coming through as strong, and he went up to 3.5 with FLV mango here. But yeah, man, this is bizarre. This is 100% bizarro. Around a group of vapors at work, I was standing there and I said to them, yeah, this is Shyndo's mango sticky rice. And all of them were literally cringing, like, whoa, like, why would you want that? I wouldn't want that. But then, I let them vape it. and some people immediately just because it's so sweet and there's savory in there, they malfunction completely, so it's just the palate doesn't understand, it doesn't comprehend those. But for people that do understand that kind of palate, so some of the Afrikaans people do understand it, because a lot of our desserts would be something savory and something sweet together, right? And then if they try this, they will have their first tooth, and then they'll think, okay, what the hell was that? And then I just say carry on, and then after about the fifth try, they'll be into it. They'll like it. And I haven't been able to put this down. So you can't really see. Let me see. Okay, so I got this on Sunday. I actually only started vaping it last night. And I'm about a quarter of a bottle down. So I did, when I started vaping this in front of the TV yesterday, I literally finished 8 mils, in 2 hours. I was just chain vaping. This is very addictive. It's one of those all-day vape kind of vibe. It's not overbearing. It's just the right amount of sweetness, and yeah, it challenges your palate a little bit, because you're searching for that mango the whole time in the sweet rice. Yeah, that's my take on mango sticky rice. This is obviously, one of the best recipes on ATF. So I'm going to, if this is almost one of my favorite recipes now, on par with things like Simply Cannoli, that are of my favorite recipes on ATF. So I'll rate this a 5. For D cream, I'm going to rate that a 4 out of 5, because it's such a simple recipe and it's just so effective in what it tries to accomplish. There's this one thing that I can't taste the crisp apple in there, and I think it transcends more to something different than an apple, but that just might be a limitation on my palate, not being able to get that. I kind of trust what Shyndo is saying there.
Right. Knowing that Theo was mixing up mango sticky rice, I also mixed it up, but with an important sub. Here in South Africa, one of our most popular mango flavors is the new Cloudburst Effects Double Mango. So I thought, rather than getting Flavora Mango and mixing up the original, I'd see if I could pair a very popular single flavor with a very popular recipe. So I mixed up sticky rice, subbing Flavora Mango, 5%, with a direct sub, 5% Cloudburst Effects Double Mango. And that was just a guesstimate on my part, but when I smelled the mix directly after mixing it, I thought I was pretty much in the ballpark, because I was getting, in the aroma, I was getting a mango top note, but I was also getting that sort of nutty earthiness of the rice, just underneath it. So I thought the balance was going to be about right, and that's indeed how it worked out after the steep when I vaped it. Initially, it registered as a little bit too moist. I mean, for a mango sticky rice pudding, you want it to be moist, but this was starting to transcend into that sort of wet,
stodgy,
a little bit too wet and juicy sort of region. But then after about another 4 or 5 days of steeping, that wetness seemed to subside. And at the same time, the mango settled into the rice. Now, according to Shyndo, the reason why the Flavora Mango works so well in this juice is that he reckons the mango sits on top of the rice. Flavora Mango doesn't really blend very well with whatever base it's on. And that was the feeling he wanted, was of chunks of mango on top of a rice base pudding. Now the Cloudburst Effects Double Mango doesn't do that, particularly after a steep. It settles into the rice, and you kind of get that feeling that you are getting chunks of mango, but that the underlying rice pudding has been sort of turned that yellowy orange mango color. So it becomes almost like it's almost like the rice pudding was made with mango puree
Yeah.
in it already. So, the whole pudding would be kind of a yellowy orange color. But it works really, really well. The double mango cuts through the stodginess of the rice underneath, but the rice still registers. And that for me is the winner about this recipe. I'm not the biggest fan of solo fruit flavors. They're too thin for me. There just isn't enough substance to them. I prefer my bakeries, my desserts, my creams and custards, because I want there to be some stability and solidity behind the fruits that I'm vaping. And that is what this mango sticky rice does for me. That Effie sweet rice just gives you that wonderfully stodgy, solid carbohydrate backing to the sharpness and the accuracy of the mango top note. So this recipe is an absolute winner for me. It's very fruity, but it does it in a way that gives me that feeling of vaping something substantial. I can report that the sub works really well. I haven't tried the original sticky rice, so I don't know. It might be a lot better than this, but if it is, then it is truly one of the most stellar juices ever, because this is a really good juice with the sub. So if you have the Cloudburst Effects Double Mango and you're a bit stymied because there aren't really many recipes for it, you can happily sub this in mango sticky rice and you'll get a great juice from it, just with that caveat to leave it to steep for probably 8 to 10 days, just to let that wetness, that over moistness steep out of it, and to let that mango settle into the rice base. But this is not a review of Shyndo's juice. It's a review of Shyndo's juice with a sub, but it's a sub that happily works really, really well. So that was the sticky rice.
So Richard, even with this here, so like I was saying in mine, it keeps me guessing the whole time where that mango is. And I think in this recipe, he talks about it. Maybe his palate is at a level where he can easily pick out that mango. But for me here, when you were talking about that sticky rice almost having the mango goo, kind of like settled through it, I'm getting a similar thing with this here. It's almost like it's part of the recipe for me. It's blended. It's not a part. But again, that could be a limitation on my side, because I'm not getting like two different things, or with the inhale maybe nuances of mango, and then with the exhale kind of like rice. I'm just getting this this rice full-bodied sort of mouthfeel rice sweetness, and then with that on the sides I'm getting kind of like some mango with that. But I wonder if that's what he's saying, if that's what he means by it's separate and it's not together. I don't know, but it's pretty together for me.
Yeah, I think the sort of overriding thing behind what he did initially was that it was a 2-stage pudding. You make the rice and then you put slices or chunks of mango on top of it. Now that is probably the sort of taste sensation that he was going for. For me, it's a 1-stage pudding. The rice and the mango were prepared together, and whatever was then done with it was with one solid, it wasn't two components that were added together. So yeah, I must actually mix up the original one and just see if it's markedly different to this, because I do get that sometimes, that clear separation between the top note and the base, but I'm not getting it with this at all, not with the Cloudburst mango. That seems to sit down really nicely in the in the mix. Right, so from mango sticky rice to cantrips, which is another one of his very popular ones. 9 ratings of all of 5 stars on ATF. This is a very simple recipe. It's 2 pears, FA pear and TFA pear, combined with TFA honeysuckle, and then with dragon fruit, TFA dragon fruit and Flavora cream as emulsifiers, just to get everything to blend together. Now, I was a little bit wary about trying this. I mean, I'm not like Deetz. I'm not big into florals at all. If anything has violet or lavender or whatever in it, I'm running a mile. You know,
Guys, think about the subs, dude. Think about it. You know what I mean?
well, Capel won't sub to our show. We'll have to live with.
I think we've
with
got
that.
Dave watching, so be careful. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I mean, florals, I just can't do that much. It's just that I think I had bad experiences vaping lychee early on. Lychee goes floral at the drop of a hat. You use 0.5% too much of basically any lychee, FA, TFA, almost any of them, even the cap, and it just heads into straight flower territory. So anyway, I was a bit wary about mixing this up, but it's Shyndo, so we had to give it a go. Again, the other reason I was a bit wary about it, it's a plain fruit. The little bit of Flavora cream in there is not going to turn it into a cream. It's just there as an emulsifier. It's not there to turn it into a fruity cream. So, floral element with a pure fruit mix, not really my bag. But I'm happy to report that this is really intriguing and really enjoyable. What I love about this is the balance between the two. In the vape, I'm tasting pear and I'm tasting honeysuckle, but I can't separate the two. I know there's honeysuckle in there, I know there's pear in there, but what I'm tasting is a third element. And it comes back to that whole thing that we were saying about the magic of fruit mixes, that it must transcend the ingredients and it must be more than the sum of its parts. It must become something different that you haven't tasted before. And this certainly does that. I mean, Shyndo talks in the notes about a simple springtime vape with a classic pairing of pear and honeysuckle. Now, I'm not into the culinary arts at all, but that is not a classic pairing to me. It's the first time I've heard of pear and honeysuckle being.
We don't move in the right circles, obviously.
I tell you, it's we don't eat at Gordon Ramsay restaurants and watch MasterChef. But I hadn't seen a juice with pear and honeysuckle before, and I hadn't heard of it as a dessert or whatever. So. It was new to me, but I have to say it works really, really well. I was quite surprised by the honeysuckle. It gives the pear, it makes the pear a little bit more earthy, and it gives it a darker note on the exhale. But it's a very, very smooth vape, and it's quite a filling vape. It's not as substantial as the mango sticky rice, obviously, because you don't have that starchy base in it, but it is more filling. It's more substantial than just a plain 3 fruit recipe. So I can well see myself mixing this up again. I generally don't do fruit, solo fruit recipes or single fruit recipes, but there's enough interest for me and it's substantial enough that I would. It wouldn't be an all-day vape for me, but I would certainly mix this again. Really interesting pairing, something that you won't have vaped before. It's probably about as floral as I'm ever going to get. That 3% TFA honeysuckle does come through quite loud and clear. So it's getting towards the edge of what my palate would tolerate, but it's well within the bounds, and it's an interesting and intriguing and refreshingly new sort of profile. So yeah, definitely a recommend on that one. Then for my final one, I went into something that is just totally in my wheelhouse and is just my jam, which is the brown butter ice cream. I'm not sure about the origins of this. From what I believe, it was some kind of collaboration between ID10T and Matthew Cassander and Jerry and Shyndo, in which they decided somehow that they were going to make brown butter ice creams. Now, again, me with my pleb palate and eating out habits, I've never had a brown butter ice cream. It's apparently quite a thing in America. So I looked up how it's made, and it's basically just, sorry?
No, I was going to say that we might be a little bit basic for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty basic thing to make. I mean, you just melt butter in a pan and you heat it gently until it becomes brown. Then you take it off and you put in an equal amount of fresh butter, then refrigerate it and blend it, and then you mix it with the cream and, the eggs and all the rest of the stuff. But it gives you a sort of darkly sweet, nutty type of ice cream, which is apparently very popular with fall recipes in the US. So their pumpkin pies and all the stuff that they have in the autumn months. So again, something I've never tasted, but if it's dark and sweet and creamy and ice creamy, then you know that I'm going to go for it big time. Initially, I didn't have the flavors to mix up Shyndo's particular version because I didn't have the French vanilla, the Hank's French vanilla ice cream. So I mixed up Jerry's first, and Jerry's was really good. It's again fascinating for me. It's two mixes that went for essentially the same profile. Jerry's uses 7 ingredients. Shyndo's uses 6 ingredients. And there's not one of them that is in common. So you've got 13 different ingredients, 7 in one recipe, 6 in the other recipe, both chasing the same profile and getting there by entirely different means. Jerry got his dark sweetening with Flavora milk and honey and FW butterscotch ripple. Shyndo got there with FA caramel. So completely different approaches, but both excellent juices. So I'll just outline how Shyndo got there. He used 2% FA caramel, which again, he says in the notes, may seem quite high, but again, it's Shyndo. So, it's there for a reason. He says FA caramel is used quite high. This is our top note. And after testing it at multiple percentages, all I can say is it just works at 2%. So there was the 2%, 1% Flavora cream as per the cantrips, 1% cream fresh because you got to have cream fresh, 0.5% Hank's French vanilla ice cream, 1% Inawera shisha vanilla, and 1.5% Cap vanilla custard. So it's fairly light on flavoring overall, 7% total percentage, although there are some heavy hitters in there that, the Hank's, the Flavora cream, the shisha vanilla, those are all fairly potent concentrates, so they don't need much. But 7% total flavoring. And, the moment I vaped this after about an 8-day steep, I just knew that this was a winner all the way. It's slightly different from Jerry's. Jerry's, I think, is a little bit more accurate, or from what I would imagine, the brown butter ice cream profile would be. Shyndo's is slightly more caramel forward. It's like a brown caramel ice cream as opposed to brown butter. But it's not about accuracy to profile. It's about whether it vapes well, and this vapes spectacularly well. I mean, it's a fairly simple flavor profile. It's an ice cream. Basically, there's no fruits, there's nothing else that goes with it. It's just a particular brand or style of ice cream. But it's a very complex vape for all of that. There's different vanillas playing there. There's different cream textures. There's that caramel coming in as the brown note at the top of the vape. And it's just very rich, decadent, very tasty. sweet without using sweetener. There's a natural sweetness to it. That FA caramel 2% brings in quite a lot of natural sweetness into it. So it just ticks all the boxes for me. It satisfies my sweet tooth without relying on sucralose to do so. It's got that nice nutty, it's not a fake ice cream. It tastes like, proper homemade brown butter ice cream. It's got that thickness, that richness. The Flavora cream and the Hanson ice cream, the cream fresh, all work well together. The shisha vanilla just boosts that ice cream note as well, the vanilla notes in the ice cream. And if you're into ice cream vapes, if you're into dessert vapes, this, like the cantrips, is a simple vape. It's not something that has 5 different layers going on, but what it does do, it's a simple taste but with a very complex set of nuances that are going on there. So an absolute winner in my book. This is something I'll mix over and over. I still can't decide whether I like Jerry's or Shyndo's more. They're both fantastic recipes. Either one, you can't go wrong. And again, just that, I don't know whether they did by design, whether they maybe compared notes and decided to use different flavors, but the fact that they used 13 flavors in total without a single flavor being replicated between the two of them is it's quite remarkable. So yeah, I mean, 3 winning recipes, not much more to say than that.
Yep. I think on all the flavors, if I go and look at hottest, right? If I search on hottest, what is it? Most popular? No, it's not on hottest. I think it's on. I think it might be by rating or most mixed, but it's one of those. Mango sticky rice is there. It's one of the top ones. I think it's got something like 25 5-star ratings or 25 ratings, and it's in 5 stars. So I mean, it looks like Shyndo. Just when he touches something, it literally turns into gold. So all power to Shyndo. I'm extremely happy with what I mixed up this week for Shyndo and what I've tried for him. Of course, it's just a small little portion of what he has out there. So please, guys, go and check out all the flavors. Go and check out all his recipes. For the people that are not so affave with all the mixes on all the flavors, please go and check out Shyndo's mixes. I can definitely recommend what he's doing. And yeah, is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about?
Yeah, just that he saved Effie Sweet Rice. That was another of those flavors that became flavor of the month. Everybody bought it, and there were 1 or 2 recipes. Initially, Wayne brought out his Yo layer that used it, and thereafter the recipes just dried up. And I bought it on that same thing, that it was it was the hot flavor of the month. It was what you needed to have, and now suddenly you're stuck with a concentrate that you can't make recipes for. So Mango Sticky Rice has saved that concentrate for me, because I will use the rest of the bottle just making mango sticky rice. I mean, it'll be in my rotation from now on.
Yeah,
and it's a way for me to use a flavor that would otherwise have just sat gathering dust in my flavor stash.
In your Caberto.
Thanks. Now I've got to buy the ingredients.
Yeah, get on that hype train, man. I thought I was literally the only one who hasn't tried it yet, but here we are. Here we are.
No, I specifically do not mix hype recipes, specifically because I would like to know what else is going on before I go up to get stuck on one thing that's amazing forever. I've actually not found anything I've been DIYing over 2 years I've been sticking to. So there's a few things in rotation, but every 2 months that rotation changes too. So maybe mango sticky rice is the one.
Yeah.
It's also why I've stopped buying new flavors until recipes come out for them. I mean, people are going mad about vape train this and vape train that. One recipe does not make a concentrate a staple. I'm going to wait until there are 5 or 6 good recipes, and then I'll decide, to buy the concentrate or not. But, sweet rice was it was the consumer trap. It came out, everybody said you got to use it, and 6 weeks later, nobody was using it.
Mm. Yeah,
Same
but this
reason
will
I
be in
don't
my
have the-
rotation as well. I'm definitely going to add this to my rotation. I think it's a nice change to, I like Deetz. I like fruits, bright fruits, full-bodied bright fruits with, a little bit of sweetener, a little bit of WS23 in them. I think it's nice for the summer. I mean, I was vaping that even through the winter now. But, if you just want to slow down on that, I think something like mango sticky rice is good because you're getting that kind of like savory vibe on it, but there's this sweetness on the exhale that you get on your lips that you almost want to like lick off your lips. You know what I mean? Just because it's so delicious. Yeah, Deetz, you said?
I think the same reason we said why I didn't mix, or why I have not mixed the sticky rice yet, is the same reason I don't have the CBE mango, double mango that everyone here is going on about. I'm waiting for a few recipes. I mean, one recipe, I'm already interested enough, and Richard gave me a reason to get the CBE double mango, and now I do the sticky rice. So I'm going to try both variations, the original and the one with the CBE double mango.
Cool. Guys, that pretty much wraps up the show. So, if there is any other recipes of Shyndo that we didn't cover that you really recommend that we should try out, please remember to put that on the comments below. Also, if there's any questions about the recipes that we reviewed today, put those in the comments below. We'll definitely get back to you. And thank you so much for watching, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.